Hello, guys. We're going to start our new chapter book. This one is called Sideways Stories from Wayside School. Now, I read this to my second graders every year. I feel like it fits perfect for our age. However, Sachar is a great children's author. Some of his books are better for fifth graders, some are better for fourth graders, some are better for second and third. But I think anybody in elementary and even an adult would enjoy this book. So this story is about a school that's a bit crazy. Instead of it being long and short on the ground, it is very, very, very tall because the builders messed up. And each chapter is about one of the students in the class at the very top. I think it's the 40-something floor. I can't remember. So each chapter is about one of the students in this class. Starts in Miss Gorf's class. She's the main teacher. But we'll see what happens. I'll read today, introduction, and Miss Gorf, and it has 30 chapters. So I hope you enjoy. Introduction. This book contains 30 stories about the children and teachers at Wayside School. But before we get to them, there's something you ought to know so that you don't get confused. Wayside School was accidentally built sideways. It was supposed to be only one story high with 30 classrooms in a row. Instead, it is 30 stories high with one classroom on each story. The builder said he was very sorry. I'm going to pause this and kind of show you what this would look like. Okay, so I drew this. This is what they wanted. They wanted one story. There's a classroom on each here, and there's the door. They wanted one story with 30 classrooms. Instead, they got a building that is 30 floors, 30 stories, and on each story, there is one classroom. So here's the door. And our story takes place up here, right here, on the 30th. I should have did a better color. Right here, up here, on the 30th floor. And just for those who want to know, story can mean book, but it can also mean a floor. And in British English, you would spell the ones that are a floor or a classroom, you put an E. But in American English, this is the same for both. Okay, let's go. The children at Wayside like having a sideways school. They have an extra large playground. The children and teachers described in this book all go to the class on the top floor. So there are 30 stories. Each chapter is a different story. From the 30th story of Wayside School. It has been said that these stories are strange and silly. That is probably true. However, when I told stories about you to the children at Wayside, they thought you were strange and silly. That is probably also true. Chapter 1, Miss Gorf. Miss Gorf had a long tongue and pointed ears. She was the meanest teacher in Wayside School. She taught the class on the 30th story. That's the teacher. She's up there. If you children are bad, or if you answer a problem wrong, I'll wiggle my ears, stick out my tongue, and turn you into apples. Miss Gorf didn't like children, but she loved apples. Joe couldn't add. He couldn't even count, but he knew that if he answered a problem wrong, he would be turned into an apple. So he copied John. He didn't like to cheat, but Miss Gorf had never taught him how to add. One day, Miss Gorf caught Joe copying John's paper. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Joe into an apple. Then she turned John into an apple for letting Joe cheat. Hey, that isn't fair, said Todd. John was only trying to help a friend. Miss Gorf wiggled her ears, first her right, then her left, stuck out her tongue, and turned Todd into an apple. Does anyone else have an opinion? She asked. Nobody said a word. Miss Gorf laughed and placed the 3 apples on her desk. John, Joe, and Todd. They're apples now. Stephen started to cry. He couldn't help it. He was scared. "I do not allow crying in the classroom," said Miss Gorf. She wiggled her ears, first her right one, then her left one, stuck out her tongue, and turned Stephen into an apple. For the rest of the day, the children were absolutely quiet, and when they went home, they were too scared even to talk to their parents. But Joe, John, Todd, and Stephen couldn't go home. Miss Gorf just left them on her desk. They were able to talk to each other, but they didn't have much to say. So they're apples that can talk. Their parents were very worried. They didn't know where their children were. Nobody seemed to know. The next day, Kathy was late for school. As soon as she walked in the class, Miss Gorf turned her into an apple. Paul sneezed during class. He was turned into an apple. 6. Nancy said, "God bless you," when Paul sneezed. Miss Gorf wiggled her ears, first her right, then her left, and then stuck out her tongue and turned Nancy into an apple. Terence fell out of his chair. He was turned into an apple. Mauricia tried to run away. She was halfway to the door as Miss Gorf's right ear began to wiggle. When she reached the door, Miss Gorf's left ear began to wiggle. Mauricia opened the door, had one foot outside, then Miss Gorf stuck out her tongue and turned Mauricia into an apple. Miss Gorf picked up the apple from the floor and put it on her desk with the others. Then a funny thing happened. Miss Gorf turned around and fell over a piece of chalk. The 3 Erics laughed. They were turned into apples. There's 3 Erics. So we had 9, 10, 11, 12 of them are apples. Miss Gorf had a dozen apples on her desk. Joe, John, Todd, Stephen, Kathy, Paul, Nancy, Terence, Mauricia, and the 3 Erics, Eric Fry, Eric Bacon, and Eric Ovens. Lewis, the yard teacher, walked into the classroom. He had missed the children at recess. He had heard that Miss Gorf was a mean teacher, so he came up to investigate. He saw the 12 apples on Miss Gorf's desk. "Oh, I must be wrong," he thought. "She must be a good teacher if so many children bring her apples." He walked back down to the playground. Oh, he has no idea. The next day, a dozen more children were turned into apples. 12 plus 12. Lewis, the yard teacher, came back into the room. He saw 24 apples on Miss Gorf's desk. There were only 3 children left in the class. Okay, how many kids in the class? 24 plus 3? "Oh, she must be the best teacher in the world," he thought. By the end of the week, all the children were apples. Miss Gorf was very happy. "Now I can go home. I don't have to teach any more. I won't have to walk up 30 flights of stairs ever again." "You're not going anywhere," shouted Todd. He jumped off the desk and bopped Miss Gorf in the nose. The rest of the apples followed. Miss Gorf fell on the floor, and the apples were jumped all over her. Remember, the apples can talk. "Stop, or I'll turn you into applesauce." But the apples didn't stop, and Miss Gorf could do nothing. "Turn us back into apples, or into children," Todd demanded. "Turn us back into children." Miss Gorf had no choice. She stuck out her tongue. Oh, she's going backwards. Stuck out her tongue, wiggled her ears, this time left one first, then her right, and turned the apples back into children. "All right, let's go get Lewis. He'll know what to do," says Mauricia. "No," screamed Miss Gorf. "I'll turn you back into apples." She wiggled her ears, first her right, then her left, and stuck out her tongue. But Jenny held up a mirror, and Miss Gorf saw herself in the mirror right when she stuck out her tongue and turned herself into an apple. This is Miss Gorf now. The children didn't know what to do. They didn't have a teacher. Even though Miss Gorf was mean, they didn't think it was right to leave her as an apple. But none of them knew how to wiggle their ears. Lewis, the yard teacher, walked in. "Oh, where's Miss Gorf?" Nobody said a word. "Boy, I am hungry," said Lewis. "I don't think Miss Gorf would mind if I ate this apple. After all, she always has so many." He picked up the apple, which was really Miss Gorf, shined it up on his shirt, and ate it. Bye-bye, Miss Gorf. Next chapter on Miss Jules, our new, beautiful, wonderful Miss Jules. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter. Actually, first two. Bye-bye.